Thank you guys so much for joining us today for Coffee Conversations. We have a very special guest with us today, Charisse Hayes, reigning from the Portland, Oregon area. We are super excited to have her. She's been in the industry for going on 20 years now. Sorry to date you there a little bit, Charisse, but we're going to have a lot of fun talking with you today, especially from another business owner, owned her own yoga studio in the past. So we're going to have tons of knowledge and fitness information ready to go for you guys here today. So, but Charisse is also not in Portland anymore. She is reigning as our fitness manager in the South Hill location there in Spokane. So I see your puppy. How are you guys doing there in Spokane?
Awesome. It's the sun is out. It's a great day today. It's warmed up a little bit. So I'm doing pretty well, just, staying as positive as I possibly can.
Awesome. Well, Let's talk about some of the things since it is so beautiful out. What are you grateful for today? What are some things on your gratitude list?
Yeah. Well, how much time do we have? Because first and foremost, obviously everybody that's in the medical field right now, I'm extremely grateful for for all of them. So thank you all so much for the work that you do. And I think it's really important to remember that on a daily basis. So that's been at the top of my list. For me personally, just always being grateful for my life's experiences, my obstacles. And today, especially for the sunshine, it's really nice to wake up and just see the sun shining. So, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a huge sunshine fan. If anybody knows me, if there is an ounce of sunshine, I am like sticking my hand in it. I'll put my foot, like if there's any, like at my house, if there's like a little circle of sunshine somewhere peeping out of a window, I am like straight to like dive towards it and get any sort of sun in my life. For somebody who's grown up in, the Seattle area, as well as now living in the Oregon area with, 6 months out of the year, sometimes 9, we're looking at, overcast and rain. Most people look at me and they're like, why do you live the way, if you love sunshine so much, why do you, but I also love, the colors and the mountains and all the hills and all the beauty that rain brings. I think it makes you appreciate more of when summertime comes because you don't have it, that kind of that lack of abundancy. So I don't have an abundant amount of sunshine. So when it does come and when you really open up your eyes and your mind to how beautiful nature is when you are able to get out in it, I think for me, gosh, I'm so grateful for, just the fresh air that when you walk outside that we're able to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. Portland is, I remember moving from Portland and missing the rain, beginning to start missing the rain and the clouds and the bloom, and so you guys are probably blooming right now. It's probably lovely there.
Yes. Hey, good memory. So there's tons of trees that are just starting to bloom up, and I was wondering there for a while if it even happens here, when it was going to happen, but it is happening, and there's greatness coming everywhere. So
that's awesome.
Connection wise, is there anybody on your list of, hey, I think I need to reach out to this person today, and who is it, and maybe why are you going to reach out to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my dad, who lives in Portland, actually, I haven't heard from him in about a week and a half. And so he's definitely on the list. He's one who I can always call and talk to and, theorize, come up with theories and just really get pretty philosophical with the guy. He's a pretty cool dude. So I'm looking forward to checking up on him and, his wife, and my uncle is staying with them right now. So today I'm going to check in with some family. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's great. Well, when this all clears up, I would love to grab a beer with your dad. If he is, which everybody here is. Everybody here is a beer drinker. You gotta be. So I'd love to, if he's great conversations like you are, I would love to grab one with him and maybe find out, you know, I will dig 7 layers deep into really you by having coffee with him if you allow me to.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
After this, Charisse is like, I am absolutely not giving you his phone number.
Nope, not even close.
I'll get baby pictures and we'll be flipping through stuff.
Those are fun, especially when, you know, the 80s, that's where I came from. So those are fun pictures.
Yeah, I was 80s as well. And I dread showing people pictures of me growing up because it was.
Oh, they're great.
Oh, yeah. I thought that I was going to look like this Gina Davis character out of this movie with short hair, and it was going to be so cute. It was like this pixie, cute little haircut.
Yeah.
But I was about 10 years too thin. And was majority of my time growing up referenced as a little fella, as a young man. So, with me looking like Joe Dirt today, I think it's we're still not too far off of where we're at.
Did you cut your own hair?
You know, unfortunately not, but my mom did, and there was one time she was adamant about it was cut short, and then I wanted to grow it out again, and then I wanted to cut short again, and she was just so frustrated that I wanted it cut short again. And so she just grabbed it in a ponytail and then snipped it.
Oh.
That was probably some of the tougher times as far as the teasing went in regards to my haircut. But I learned my lesson and grew it out. And I was a bleach blonde growing up.
No way. Wow, I'd like to see those pictures someday.
As much as I would love to have, we'll see. If you give me your phone number to your dad to have a conversation with him.
You can make a trade.
Yeah, we'll do a fair trade for sure. Let's talk about how much you do like, because you referenced to me the other day on how big of a beer and wine snob that you are.
I blame Portland, Oregon, actually.
All my Portland people here.
That's my fault, obviously.
would love to know, what is your favorite beer, and do you have a favorite wine?
You know, I really love 10 Barrel in Portland. It's straight out of Portland. They make a couple great IPAs. I can't remember the name of the IPA off the top of my head. Yeah. But every time I go to Portland, I go to 10 Barrel. The ambiance is awesome. They make great beer. So definitely, that's what I really like. As far as wine, it's awesome because in Portland, the Pinot Noir is, it kind of parallels. Well, this is me going to get nerdy about wine here.
Nerd out, mama.
Yeah, it parallels where Pinot actually comes from. So the environment is perfect for the Pinot grape. So if you can find a really good Pinot, I mean, that's what I would do. So yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Okay, so you're going to check on some family today and make sure that they're doing well. I'm glad that they are healthy. So why do you think it's so important to stay connected with people? Because I've said this so many times in our talks that I don't like the phrase, social distancing. I think it should be physical distancing.
Absolutely.
It's totally fine. But it's for me, so important to stay socially connected with people. In your opinion, do you feel the same way?
I do, yeah. And, it's funny coming from me because, I was one of the only child. So when people say physical distancing, it's like, oh, no problem, I got that. That's easy. I do that a lot of the time, but spending 8 to 10 hours a day interacting with people on such a powerful level, you can definitely feel if you don't stay connected, you can feel the depletion there, right? So that's when I think our mind if we stop connecting, and what the important part of connecting is our mind might be left to, other things, right? So we want to connect with someone, and if we don't, we might connect to an extra tub of ice cream or something like that. Does that make sense? Or, whatever that may be. So I think having these kinds of interactions, picking up the phone and actually calling people Now, all you young kids out there, I don't know if you still know how to use that part of your phone, but it works awesome. But making phone calls to where instead of sending a text message, hearing people's voice.
Yeah.
Saying hey to your neighbors from afar. I had a conversation with a new neighbor from afar, but it was great. Yeah. So absolutely, extremely important. I mean, we're social creatures, right? So that connection keeps us alive and healthy.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing to expand upon, because if we don't have that social structure that we were used to, right? We were used to going to the grocery store and being social, going to the gym and being social, going to work and being social, and then that was pulled away from us. Where do we find our connection? And you had mentioned, for example, food, which for a lot of our members, and ourselves included in the past, food was the outlet. For some people, it's positive outlet, it's negative outlet, it's any sort of outlet. So if we find ourselves not being able to talk through things or journal things or, have any sort of social connection to someone to talk through it, then we are driven back into maybe these old feelings or phases that we had, to where it's like, oh, I remember that connection that I had with chips, with ice cream, with donuts, with whatever that vice may be that kind of got us into trouble in the first place. And so I think, awareness for that, first and foremost, are you aware that that's a trigger for you? And if it is, then, then that we're finding that trigger now, what do I do with that information? And again, we'll kind of talk more about that, but what I'm hearing you say is, stay connected with like-minded people who are going to say, hey, I understand your feelings. Here's what I did to overcome that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's talk this out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, it's actually, it's brought me to a different level of conversation with people as well. I mean, we're all in this together, and it's okay to talk about it. And it's okay to talk about difficulties if you're having them. We need to, right? Because then, like you're saying, otherwise we're going to start grasping onto old behaviors that we don't like anymore. And so for me, that connection is just one of the pieces, a really important piece to, the vision that I have for myself, the vision that I have for the people around me that I want to support and love, and, all of those kinds of things. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, and I think that's such a great thing to make sure that we do talk about, because some people might feel shame, right? Shame on, that I'm having these feelings or these thoughts, or maybe somebody has gained, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pounds since being in isolation, and they're afraid to talk about it, which I would hope, you can't tell anybody what to do, but I would hope that they would feel okay communicating, at least, with us or their trainer or a friend or somebody, saying, ooh, I am struggling a little bit, before this gets too bad, because who knows when it's gonna, this stay at home is gonna uplift. I know we have dates, but sometimes those get extended, but before it gets too bad, I hope that people can, communicate with one another and say, I'm having some struggles, and help. Don't forget to ask when needed.
Yep. Yeah. So there's a thing that, pain is pain, right? Or struggle is struggle. There's no, like when you were saying shame or something like that, there's no value placed on any individual's level of struggle or pain or shame. One person's struggles are not more valuable than another person's. So if you need the help, if you need to talk to somebody, you matter just as much as the next person, right? Absolutely. So you have to take that into account, and you place that value on yourself. If you had a friend that needed some help, would you say, nah, sorry, I can't talk to you right now? No, absolutely not. You would talk to that friend. Yeah. So you have to treat yourself the same way, I think,
Yeah.
Remembering.
And when that conversation does happen, I think that we need to realize that our struggles or issues or whatever we have feeling are valid, and I hope if anybody is doing this out there, maybe to kind of recognize it, because I've seen it in the past, and I think I've used to do it too as well, but to go, well, yeah, that sounds like a problem, but what about all these other things going on? That's way worse of a problem, so yours really isn't that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And
yeah.
I think that's the wrong way to go, because everybody's feelings are their feelings, and in my world, my problem is still my problem, and I'm trying to convey what that is. And if I can't convey that to you because you're just going to make me feel like, and not you personally, right?
Yeah.
Whoever it is going to make me feel like, well, kind of, again, shame on you for having that feeling, because there's way worse problems out there. That's not where, Charisse and I are going to, communicate to all of you guys. We won't do that to you. And
no way.
If you feel like
Absolutely
somebody else is doing that to you, either call them out on it or communicate with somebody else.
And if you're doing that,
yeah.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, communicate with somebody who's going to allow you to share your feelings, understand where you're coming from, and either just listen to you or give you advice, or talk it through together to where you don't feel shameful for communicating your feelings inside.
Yeah, 100%. And if that person happens to be yourself that's making you feel the shame, then those are something that, getting through something like this in a positive manner, and that internal voice, that can be some of our biggest enemies. The most powerful relationships and the most meaningful relationship that we are ever going to have in our lives it's with ourselves.
Yes.
So, being able to observe your own thoughts too, I think it's really important, because that basically builds your perspective.
Yes.
Right? It creates your reality. So, perspective for me is everything. So if you notice that voice, that shameful voice, or that negative talking voice that just keeps hitting you is yourself, then observe that and try not to attach onto that, right? Because the perspective is you're going to build your reality based upon your thoughts. It's your filter, right? Through how you see and create the world. Yes. So around you. So yep. Identifying voice.
Yeah. And because that's all that we can really control, right? Is what we say and what we do and what we think. And and so let's stay on that wavelength. Let's say somebody is feeling like, gosh, yeah, that's me. I'm getting negative. I'm shaming myself. I feel myself kind of just saying, screw it. I've had a bad breakfast and I'm just going to ruin the whole day with, eating, or I haven't been exercising, so I'm not going to continue, or whatever it may be. What are some ways that maybe have worked well for you, or you've coached on in the past, to where people, can start to pull themselves out of that negative mindset?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, sitting still is one of the greatest ways to do that. The first is going to be the recognition of something, right? Realizing what's driving your actions. And it's one of the hardest things to do. So while you're doing that, I had to be very honest with myself, right? Because once I'm honest with myself, that's where I start to trust myself.
Yeah.
Right. So then the voice of extreme desire, to go eat a bag of potato chips or whatever it might be, that's not really listening to the truth. That's listening to, something that's made me feel better in the past, or something that's not, that I've attached onto for so long that I need to let go of it. And by being honest with myself.
Yep.
And then you're going to have to make a choice based upon that. And so sometimes writing things down, things that those aha moments, especially if you're meditating or doing something, writing something down, and then you have to kind of fight with that voice just a little bit. You know, it's going to keep coming up, probably for everybody's entire life. Yeah. It's not going to go away. The burden of our thoughts aren't going to go away. It's not going to become a magical being and not have these thoughts. It's going to be not attaching onto them as your reality. Right? So if you can kind of create a voice that's louder than that voice, you know, and for me, in my head, where all the voices live, you know, I had to come up with a pretty powerful mantra. And sometimes, I mean, it's, well, you know, Charisse, shut the F up, you know, it's stop it. That's not the truth. Yeah. And, you know, and so it's just going to be something that works for you, a catchphrase, a mantra, that's going to overpower that one voice that's telling you to do something that you actually don't really want to do, because you know the consequences of. You really do. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So do you find that things such as affirmations, you know, help with that? Or in couple with, you know, that kind of, you know, somewhat of a superhero voice inside of your head going, no, Chancey, that is total BS, and you have great legs, and don't believe yourself when you see yourself on video that you don't like that, you know, because you things you see or things you feel or whatever it is, you start again that negative spiral. And you know, to flip into, okay, now let's turn this into a positive. Now let's add an affirmation. I'm recognizing it. I've slammed down my hammer and said, no, Chancey, that's not true. And then should I attach an affirmation, you know, connection with that? Chancey, you have beautiful legs. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's honestly the thing that has worked for me on a consistent level. And I do write down my affirmations. I also say them out loud. You create a biofeedback loop when you actually write them down. And so I am right there with you on those affirmations, because once again, it comes down to your thought. What you believe about yourself is what is going to be so.
Yeah.
Right. And I know, and that sounds like, it sounds a little cliche, but it's not. Perspective is what, you know, it's that whole thing of perspective is what drives performance, and what kind of performance are you going to have throughout the day?
Yeah.
You know, just if we're not working, you know, if you have a strong work ethic, I work, that's not going to change. So I'm going to have to translate that, find something new for me to be able to express that ethic, that work ethic. And constantly reminding myself, I didn't stop doing my affirmations because I'm not going to work and part of my routine changed.
Yes.
But the affirmations, they start to build your reality, and I'm telling you, they work, you know, and it's pretty incredible once you see, oh my gosh, I had that affirmation 3 months ago, 6 months ago, and now I'm living it.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
So let's kind of piggyback on that, because some people who do affirmations and, you know, have this positive mindset, and also have this, you know, person also in your mind telling you, okay, that is not a true statement about yourself, let's move on. Some, I feel like I've seen them also be big journalers and write down. Is that something that you do? And if it is, do you have any tips for anybody out there who's maybe looking to get into journaling or might think it's a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. Journaling. It's funny that you mentioned that, because when we were going to, you know, be the physical distancing and self-quarantining, and I bought an extra journal. I should have bought toilet paper, but the first thing I bought, because now I can't find any, but the first thing I bought was another journal. And so I have, you know, you don't have to be all journally like me, but you can have one journal. I have 3 for 3 different things in my life.
Yeah.
Because I find if I can kind of, you know, separate ideas a little bit, but on a daily basis, if journaling is something that you're drawn to, but you're finding it hard to stay consistent, do it at the same time every day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be words of wisdom all the time. You know, it's you can just let words kind of flow onto the paper. And after a while, you'll start to form it'll start taking shape. You know, you'll recognize things that you maybe didn't even know about yourself before. Yeah. You know, and so it just kind of creates itself. And I think that's one of the most powerful things. And it's you. It's coming from, it's coming from me. It's coming from you. Yeah. And so you're creating yourself on paper. And for me, journaling's, I love it. I love it. So
I heard some good advice from somebody the other day who was saying, well, Chancey, they were telling me I don't like to write things down. That connection just didn't make sense for me. So I started journaling via just recording myself. And I thought that was such a great idea because, you know, not every one thing is going to work for every single person. You know, I like to journal in the morning and at night. That it just helps me write down, you know, what's my intent and purpose for that day? You know, do I have direction and affirmations and gratitude, and I attach all that together. And then at the end of the night, I review. So that works for me. But what I was trying to, you know, even communicate or suggest, somebody already knew themselves and they're like, that ain't gonna work. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen. I gotta talk it out. I gotta communicate it. And I said, well, then what you're doing is working. Then don't let me mess it up. You know, for you to do a video on yourself and to record that and be able to look back on it. I mean, what a cool way, you know, whether that's writing it down or saying it out loud, what a cool way to have these nuggets of wisdom from yourself to go, wow, okay, back then, okay, I'm having a struggle right now, but I also remember when I had that other struggle last year, and I watched that video of me having that, and then, okay, here's what worked and here's what didn't work. So, you know, I think that's a good point for us to understand is not one way is always going to work for one person.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, find your medium. And I think that's important to really kind of emphasize a little bit is you got to find what works for you. Yeah. It's just like food, right? If you can't see yourself eating a certain way for the rest of your life, whatever you're doing now, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right. So absolutely. It's got to be what works for you, right? We're all individualized. So we have to come up with a plan, an individualized plan, right? Yeah. So, yeah.
No, I think that's fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing that and letting me kind of piggyback on top of that, because that is absolutely awesome. And I loved when you said you got to have that little person in your voice that overpowers all the little negative little voices, because you know we hear this sometimes on social media, or you know your vibe attracts your tribe. And in your mind, you know, you've got to have that strong leader in there that goes, okay, tribe, you guys are talking a little bit more negative right now, and you got to knock that off, and everybody gets something. And it's not always going to go perfect, but you know, I love when you said that, because I think people are really going to relate with that.
Yeah, and I mean, mine had to be very bossy because there's a lot of bossy people up there. Yeah. So it just so happened that the leader had to be a little bit more bossy than the rest of them. Yeah. But yeah, and it works. You know, you cut off, you shut it down. Yep. You know, you shut it down. So.
All right. Well, let's end with some fun questions here today.
Yeah.
So, I have been asking a few other people in my coffee conversations, what is their, game? I don't know if people are gamers or not, or whatever they call it. You know, video games or Netflix. So, do you have a favorite video game that you're playing right now, or maybe a Netflix guilty pleasure?
I don't play videos, but I certainly Netflix. So you know how Netflix is now a verb. For sure. Yeah. Right now I love, criminal mystery, drama, psychological stuff. Yeah. So I am into Broadchurch. And so if you like the kind of crime solving, mysteries, psychology, it's awesome. So I'm right in the middle of that right now.
Nice. I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah.
So, in front of me, I have to say, you know, my vice for food is sugar. And in front of me right now, I'm not going to lie, is a donut. And I'm going to eat it and enjoy it. And I'm also going to work out today. Do you have a vice and or a cheat meal that's kind of your go-to?
Well, I don't have the sugar thing, but I do have the salt thing. So chips.
Yeah.
Yep. salty, crunchy chips. It doesn't matter if they're tortilla or potato, as long as they're salty and crunchy. So I will definitely, you know, indulge in that every once in a while.
Awesome. Okay, a couple more for you.
Yeah.
Do you have any fears or are you scared of anything? What is something that we need to know about Charisse? Do you have any fears?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can share a fear. I think one of the biggest ones for me of fear, you know, now it's not going to be of heights, you know, or anything like that. Although having a healthy fear of heights, I think is not bad, but I have a huge fear of failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I, you know, and saying that out loud is, you know, I'm definitely uncomfortable, but it's all right. It's something that, you know, I check in with a lot.
Yeah.
And so it can be a good thing and a bad thing. You know what I mean? So that's probably one of the bigger fears that I recognize.
Well, thank you for sharing. Not a lot of people know this about me, but I have a huge fear of whales and dolphins.
Really?
Big time. Pinocchio messed me up. Pinocchio messed me up as a kid, and I did not know that the dolphins were a thing until I was in Cancun with one of my best friends, and we're on this excursion. And they're like, "You want to swim with dolphins?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I hit the boardwalk, and all I hear is this, like, and I was like, "No, I can't do it. I can't do it." I think it's, you know, for me, it's the fear of the unknown, and I can't control the situation. So I'm just like, I don't like it. So it's not, you know, your fear is way more probably valid. Mine is just, I don't know what mine's all about.
No, not necessarily.
Where it comes from. Okay.
Yeah, and you never know, dolphins with sharp teeth, I'm not sure. But, yeah.
Maybe. Okay, last thing. What's something you want to cross off your bucket list?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, I've traveled quite a bit, so traveling is always my, you know, what I love to do. So Greece, I can't wait till I get to go to Greece.
Yes.
You know, and I'm looking forward to it. That's going to be probably, you know, amazing, I'm sure. Just the history, the Mediterranean, you know, all of those things. So yeah.
For sure. Well, if you need a tour guide, I would gladly, you know, let me know, and I can show you around, because I've never been, but I'm not afraid to explore. So I would kind of make it up, but I would probably have a lot of fun with you. But Charisse, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you. Move members and everybody out there, Charisse and I know I can speak for her right now. We miss you like crazy. We can't wait to see you guys. Be healthy, be safe. Charisse, I'll let you send us off, and then we'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, Chancey. It was awesome. And everybody take care. And don't forget, reach out to anybody, everybody. And stay healthy and safe, guys. Thank you so much.